Welcome to Brewsers, a podcast about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. I am your host, Rody John, and today we talk to Cappuccino Jones. We talk all about who Cappuccino Jones is, what the future looks like, and so much more. If you want to check out Cappuccino Jones this weekend, you can see him down in Houston, Texas at Wrestle Raves, Jack of All Trades. That is happening this Saturday, March 30th, down in Houston, Texas. Definitely go check out Cappuccino Jones. While you're doing that, make sure to sign up for our newsletter. You get even more information about our guest. You get fun facts, and you get to find out what's happening with your favorite podcast, all about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. So without further ado, here is Cappuccino Jones. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Sounds good, man.
So,
Pleasure to be on.
Thanks for coming on, yeah. I'm watching some of your matches now, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. What you watching?
I just watched your Franco match, and now I'm watching the Tommy Dean match.
Oh, yeah, that Tommy Dean match was that was crazy.
Yeah,
that's fun.
One of my favorite things about local and regional wrestling is like watching the venues, because I just love seeing how people kind of set up wrestling, or especially with the camera shots and everything. And then obviously the crowd is just right there and on top of you, and hearing everybody in the building as well can be fun, and also I imagine a little annoying because local wrestling fans, a lot of them are just super regulars, so they're used to just kind of just shouting out whatever they want. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's I feel like what you're saying is like I feel that the most with drunk fans, and I love drunk fans.
Oh.
Like when I wrestle like at bars and stuff, like you really get the fans that just say whatever, and like but the fans in Oklahoma, like, yeah, they are definitely regular. I see a lot of the same faces, but they're all really chill. Like, they're, like, extremely trained. So, like, yeah. But they get loud and stuff. They're great.
Oh, of course. I mean, like we've been saying, they go all the time. They're the regulars. They've seen so many people come through, and obviously you'll have certain crowds get bigger depending on who's there, and, you know, bigger, smaller. But some of those, like you said, some of the fans are just there all the time, and it doesn't matter who's there. They're just there for some live pro wrestling, and it's awesome.
For sure. I got to appreciate that.
Yeah. So as you were hearing, I'm having a wonderful conversation here with Cappuccino Jones. He is a wrestler out of the Oklahoma area. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Now, normally I like to ask your earliest memory of pro wrestling, but right now, for the people listening, kind of paint us a word picture. Where are you at? What's going on around you?
Currently?
Yes, sir.
Or just like in life? Currently, I'm in my car. I just got back from the gym.
Nice.
It's been a busy day. Work, all of that. Just got back from the gym. So yeah, I'm just sitting in my car right now. Wanted a real quiet space, and I really enjoy sitting in my car, like once it's parked, and just thinking and evaluating, and clearing my head.
No, I completely understand that. I mean, like you said, it's the one quiet place you have, and especially whenever, you're supposed to be paying attention when you're driving, so you're kind of on alert, but hopefully most people are not on their phones as well.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But once you get to that destination, just kind of sitting there and be like, all right, what do I got to do next? What's going on? Especially either going to or coming from the gym. I do the same thing. It's like, as soon as I get there, I'm like, okay, what are we doing in here today? And then, or just all right, well, we'll figure it out once we get in there. And then once you're done, you're like, good. Like, who doesn't feel great after a workout too? So, that helps clear the mind as well.
No, totally.
So what was your earliest memory of pro wrestling?
My earliest my earliest memory My earliest memory of professional wrestling. It's crazy how it started. It started with a video game. It started with WWE All-Stars, if you remember that. Yeah, I used to go over to my cousin's house like every summer. I grew up in Tulsa. They live in Oklahoma City, so it's only about 2 hours away. But I would spend the summer over there with my cousins and my family. And I remember one day, me and my cousin were just bored, and he threw on the WWE All-Stars demo on PlayStation 3. And it was a demo, so there was only two choices of who you could be. It was Ultimate Warrior and Rey Mysterio. And I had literally. I had no wrestling knowledge. Like, I've heard of WWE. I knew who John Cena was and Big Show, the legends, but I never actually, gave it, the time of my day. So being bored playing this demo every day, I'm like, wow, this is fun. And, I would always pick Rey Mysterio. So he was, the first, wrestler I, kind of got drawn to. And so, yeah, we'd play that game every day, literally for, a whole summer straight. And then when I got back in Tulsa at the end of the summer, I was like, you know what? I want to get another WWE game. Now, it's funny because I assumed, for some reason I didn't want to watch the show at the time. I just thought the games were, the way to go. And I assumed that every WWE game was going to be like WWE All-Stars and everyone was going to be humongous and fly in the air. So I bought SmackDown versus Raw 2009, and it was years old at the time, I mind you. But I bought it and for $10. And I remember being so thoroughly disappointed that they weren't giant and they weren't flying 30 feet in the air for power bombs and suplexes. But I was like, you know what? I already have it. Let's just explore this game. So I bring it over to one of my best friend's houses, and we're playing it. And he's a wrestling fan at the time. I had no idea, but we grew up together. But he was a wrestling fan. He was kind of letting me know about just kind of what wrestling was all about, and oh, this guy's on TV currently. This guy isn't here anymore. I remember just seeing Jimmy Wang Yang and Mr. McMahon in that game, and I'm like, who are these guys? And I was like, all right, Rey Mysterio, that's who I know. So, it was. So that was my earliest memory of pro wrestling. And soon enough, playing with that friend I was talking about, one of my best friends, we would just play SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, every night at his house. And then eventually he was it was on a Monday night at the end of the summer, and he was like, do you want to watch Raw tonight? And I was like, yeah, the game is just fun. It got to be it has to be dope, live. So I just picked, I'm so thankful that the first episode of Raw was a great episode. And now looking back at it, when I see clips, when I see moments from the 2010s, this was such a significant episode. So the first episode of Raw I watched was when Rey Mysterio won the WWE title from The Miz.
Whoa.
And, right? I watched the whole episode, and it's crazy because Rey Mysterio was the first wrestler I was playing in the video games. He was the first memory of a wrestler. So it was a full circle moment. And I remember being so happy. I was like, whoa, that, specifically in the match versus The Miz, it was just so back and forth, and it was the first time I was really, ooh, ah, 1, 2, no, getting all those wrestling experiences, and then the satisfaction of Rey Mysterio winning and all of that. And then John Cena beats him later that night, and I hated John Cena from that point.
Right? I hated it. I hated that whole moment. It was just
I was like, what? It made sense because of Punk, but yeah, I was pretty mad by the end. I'm thankful I was mad though, because it made me want to watch the next week in hopes that, the first month of my wrestling fandom, I just wanted Rey Mysterio to get revenge on Cena, but that never happened.
Never did. Didn't even sniff the title again. That is one of the most annoying things about that entire thing.
Why
I
have
get
him
that.
win?
Thank you. Why have him win at all? Why didn't John Cena just immediately Mysterio and Miz face for for the number one contendership, and then whoever wins that night or wins that match later that night goes on to face John Cena. And then John Cena wins. That's fine. Don't put it on Mysterio for an hour and then have him lose to John Cena. It's so
And they did him so dirty. They did him so dirty. He had the whole celebration, the champagne. He was like, I'm coming home with the gold. I was like, what? I almost cried as a kid. And then, it just made no sense. It made no sense at all.
No, at all. And to this day, there's been nothing that made sense about that. I just don't understand.
That's an underrated, moment that people don't hate enough.
Right? Because it's two people that people love so much, but they're not going to bring up the fact that, Mysterio got screwed that night by John Cena.
Yeah, that was the biggest. Yeah, to me, that's John Cena's heel turn.
Well, yeah, but, I fully agree. Yeah.
We won't get into that.
Well, so when did you then figure out there was even more wrestling out there? Because, everybody has that moment that either you're flipping through the channels or, at that time, social media is so huge that you could stumble across something else that you're like, wait a minute, that's not WWE. What the hell is this?
Yeah, for sure. So I was really invested in that whole 2011 year of WWE, which was a great year, the whole build with The Rock versus Cena, Awesome Truth. So I was kind of getting introduced to all of these things, and eventually, I start to get more wrestling video games, because that's still growing. I end up getting WWE 12 and yada yada, and eventually I come across TNA Impact, the video game, and I see Kurt Angle on the cover. And I'm like, sick. I thought this was a WWE game. I see Booker T, I see Kurt Angle, and I was like, man, I wonder what year this is from. So I get it, and I'm like, what the hell is TNA? But, the more and more I play the game, I'm like, okay, this is dope. I got introduced to AJ, Joe, even Sting. I learned who he was from TNA, and then eventually I just watch it on TV, and, I see Steiner, Abyss, Bully Ray. 2011 was a great year for TNA, too. So that's kind of how I started to, understand, okay, that WWE is not the only wrestling out there. There's also TNA. But in 2014, so that's from, from 2011 to 2013, I was kind of only aware of WWE and TNA. And I knew there was other wrestling out there, but I had never had any interest in it. I was just kind of like a TV fan. And then 2014, kind of my freshman year of high school, looking for I used to just during my free time watch old pay-per-view highlights, No Mercy, 03. I would just, go on those highlight channels and just kill so much time just watching, just the highlights with the they'll have 3 Days Grace Plan and the classics. But eventually I come across Ring of Honor Best in the World 2014 highlights, and I was like, I had no idea what it was, but I think it actually automatically played too. I don't even think I tried to click on it. And yeah, so I watched those pay-per-view highlights, and it was one moment in particular. It was Roderick Strong, I believe, versus Cedric Alexander. And there was a moment in the match where Cedric Alexander got back body dropped outside the ring onto the apron. And to me, that was just the gnarliest thing I've ever seen, in wrestling at the time. And I was like, whoa, and then from there, it got my attention. Oh, okay, this isn't WWE, but this is this stuff is legit. This is cool. And I saw the Young Bucks for the first time. I saw Adam Cole, Kevin Steen. Became a huge Kevin Steen fan. Nice. I saw Matt Hardy. I was like, oh, Matt Hardy's here. So so that was my introduction to. That was my introduction to indie wrestling, and then from there I got into PWG and, everything else. Just became a huge indie guy from there. And then